Hey, right, this is working now. Yes. Hello. It's been a while. I don't think I've done a video since the beginning of July. And now I am doing one. I'm not going to make excuses. There are no shoulds or shouldn'ts here. It's just life. Hello, how everybody? How are you? Hope everything's good. You're having a good week. Had a great summer. It's been really hot. Um, uh, yeah. It's all hello. It's nice to be back. And I thought I would talk a little bit today about uncertainty. Uncertainty, because there's been a few things. I think, to be honest, uncertainty is one of those things that it's just life. You know, you're not going to know the outcome to things, and you're not always going to be able to control the outcome to things all the time. And when I was younger, I wouldn't even say when I was younger, I would say quite relatively not that long ago, maybe not long ago at all. I used to need things very black and white. You know, like if I felt like something wasn't, like something wasn't definite, it would make me feel very uncomfortable. And I'd get a lot of anxiety about that. And as I've got older and as I've grown and I got a little bit wiser, I think, a little bit wiser, hopefully, I started to allow the grey. Sometimes it's black and white and there's a little bit of grey, and I'm just going with the grey, and sometimes the grey is opening up doors and opening up things that wouldn't have been there if I'd have just made them black and white, if I'd have just made them one way or the other, if I'd have just shut the door. Allowing the door to remain open means that you allow yourself to be open, and that means that you're allowing things to come to you that can't come if the door's shut. Do you know what I mean? And don't, sometimes you're cutting yourself short, is what I'm saying. Obviously, it depends on the situation. And, when it comes to uncertainty with life situations, there are big life situations that are completely out of your control that you have to come to terms with. And then there are the smaller things, which it just depends. There's lots of different levels of uncertainty within your life, whether that's at work, whether that's with relationships, whether that's big life events going on with your family, whether that's just worrying about, I don't know, the weather. You've got something going on and you don't want it to rain, and it might, there's so many different areas of life where you can feel closed in and shut down because you don't know how something's going to go. And I've just had a few thoughts about how you can cope with that, basically. And I think a lot of the anxiety comes with, on some level, believing that things shouldn't be happening in a way, and not being able to be with that, not being able to be with what it is fully. And also having a sort of a lack of control. And I think a lot of the positives of being able to cope with uncertainty is that when you start to accept it and you start to surrender into it, that's where I think there's an opening with it and it changes it. Okay, so I'm just going to talk a little bit about that as well, because sometimes we have to embrace uncertainty because we have absolutely no control. We have no choice, and it's about accepting what it is without looking at whether it should or it shouldn't be happening. It's taking the energy out of talking yourself into whether it should or shouldn't be happening and accepting it, and looking at what you can do to be able to be comfortable with the situation that you're in, because there's nothing you can do about it. Sometimes there's nothing you can do about it, and that's life. You know, you have to wait, you have to see, you have to just see how it pans out, you know. And what you can do when you're dealing with those sort of situations is focusing on areas of your life that you do feel that you have some control over, that are sort of bringing you joy, you know. So not focusing so much on the other thing all the time, but allowing yourself to have a break and have a breather, and focusing on things that are working for you. So taking yourself out of a negative area with it, moving into a positive area with yourself, not avoiding, but making sure that you're focusing in other areas as well. Another thing you can do is just being aware of your own feelings when it comes to uncertainty, and just being aware of when you're feeling anxious, or when you're feeling, you know, not okay with something, or actually when you're feeling like you're dealing with it really well, making sure that you congratulate yourself and pat yourself on the back and go and, you know, do something nice for yourself. It's about being really aware of your own feelings, and if you need to talk to someone, talk to somebody, because that can really help. You need support as well, is what I'm saying. So I think also another way of coping with it is sometimes just taking a step back from what you're going through, just to reduce the overwhelm of what's happening. Okay, sometimes it won't be as big and you won't need to, it's not like a massive thing, but sometimes when it's a bigger thing, taking a step back and just focusing on smaller things that are happening through your day instead can be beneficial to you. I would say also, when it comes to that, there are two sort of areas where you need to be sort of on alert with. So there are things that you can do, which I would call the sort of the actively positive, conscious decisions and choices that you're taking to cope with how you're feeling. Okay, so that might be something really positive, what you consider positive, like, you know, taking a walk, or having a bath, or like going for a swim, or, you know, and giving yourself a breather from whatever you're going through. And then there are things that happen. There are things that you can do that are avoidance tactics. So, you know, and that's indulging in unhealthier habits to not feel, or taking your good habits and doing them so much that you're numbing yourself to avoid how you're feeling. Okay. And there was one time where, just an example of that, I was dealing with something that I couldn't really cope with, and this was years and years ago, I was going to gym, and then it kind of got to the point where I was just going to gym to exhaust myself, so I stopped feeling. Gee, it's awful, isn't it? But that's what I was doing. So I was going to gym and spending hours and hours in the gym, and instead of it being a positive thing, it started to be quite a negative thing, actually. And you just need to be aware of that. It could be a really positive thing, but it could also, just make sure it doesn't slip into the bad, and make sure that things are becoming quite balanced in your life. I think also, if you're feeling with difficult feelings around uncertainty, make sure that you relax, that you go somewhere that you can have a sort of some relaxation time, because I think tuning back into your body is really important, and making sure that you're slowing down all the systems and you're giving your nervous system a break, and going into stillness and all of that. It really does help to process what you're going through. It's not an avoidance, it's a stillness, and sometimes you need to allow things to settle to know how you're feeling about something, and know which way you might like to go with how you're dealing with something, or just to have a rest. You know, sometimes having that stillness is really beneficial. I would say all the time, not sometimes. It's a really beneficial thing to do. There are other things you can do, like breathing techniques, doing things like taking some really deep breaths every now and again. Like sometimes I do a breath where I'll breathe in, hold for 5 seconds, and then breathe out. And that just gives me a 5-second pause to deal with anxiety or anything that's cropping up with what I'm doing, and I can start again. It's like a little reset button, and that's quite nice. So that's just a few things just around that area of uncertainty. So really it's about, what I would say is, sometimes if you can't make it black or white, and sometimes if you can allow it to be grey, it sounds so abstract, think that, you know, sometimes it's good to just be with the grey. Be with the grey, you know. And if you can embrace it and allow it to be as it is, sometimes the answers come, and sometimes things become more certain, and sometimes they won't, and that's okay. That's okay. I feel like hopefully I haven't babbled through that whole 10 minutes, but if you do like my babble in my other videos and stuff, then please subscribe, and hit a like, give me a comment. It'd be lovely to hear from you, and I hope you have a lovely day. Bye.